We had a bunch of conversations over the weekend and then on Monday too, and I think that's something at the beginning of the season we thought we would do anyway. We even talked about doing it mid-game, but you get off to a good start, which is hard to argue. I mean, it was a good start, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And then next thing you know, we got a hamstring injury that kind of throws things out of the loop. But blame it on me for not getting here faster, but here we are. We know what it's going to look like when we take the field. It's either going to be good enough or it's not. So that's what it'll be. And then same thing with some of the other things we did with those really talented kids. We got Ariel and Manny defensively. But anyway, we just went with the best lineup we thought we could go with tonight. At the same time, being reasonable with Peebles wasn't even in the conversation. But again, Stone showed you he's fully capable, and we don't win the game without Stone tonight. And then we kind of did our little matchup deal with the left fielder. Knew he was a good choice against the lefty that started. And then it was good for him to get some reps because he gets cheated in Oxford with being sick. And then, you know, it is a group of position guys where you wish you could make out a 12-man lineup, but we can't do that. So coming full circle in the month of May, we'll go with pretty much some similar stuff you saw tonight.
What did you see from Prinzel and what could his role potentially look like this weekend?
Well, I was just talking with John, and you could have low standards and say, he hadn't been out there in a couple months, he'd been sick. Really good leadoff hitter. I mean, one of the better leadoff hitters in the country, but you still need to pump strikes to the guy, and that's kind of been his MO anyway. But the good thing about that guy, who's a dangerous base runner too, and Shannyfeld getting on base, it was able to remind us this kid's got unique composure for a freshman. Again, I was joking with John, I need to quit giving his dad so much credit because Mom gets credit too, but he's kind of got the quarterback poise and presence you want when things are maybe getting a little hairier, there's extracurricular stuff going on out there. And so I know he threw the ball pretty well, but I was more excited about the composure. And so he'll go to the bullpen this weekend, and that's where he'll be this year. For the rest of the year, he'll be a guy that I think we have seen can get us out of a jam. And I'm trusting him at the end of the game is not just from me, it's all the coaches. Doesn't go well for whatever reason, can sleep with that just fine. And if it does go well, it's probably because of that poise and also the good stuff.
How important was Charman's outing tonight?
Say that again, sir.
How important was Charman's outing?
It was good. Maybe he heard the question, why'd you bring him in the game on Sunday, and it didn't make him happy. Because normally the way that question is worded is, why did you do that or shouldn't have done that? But he's earned the right to be in the mix of, and I'm being smart, Alec. You can give a courtesy chuckle if you want. But he's thank you. He's sounding like Beavis and Butthead. He's earned the right to be in that group of guys that, you know, we can trust. And the way they've got Hoover laid out, and then the other crazy stuff can come up. He's a starter option for us, but same. You guys have seen how it goes on the weekend. We need every option available, and he's shown that he belongs in that group. You know, talking about, you know, riding your horses or playing your guys in May. He's put himself in that category. So, but it was important for him to right the ship tonight more than anything. I was talking about him personally, but for our team, it was massive. It was the game. And again, we couldn't have won without Stone's effort, and some other guys did good things, but it was the game.
What did you like most about the plate approaches tonight? There were a number of parted outs as well.
Yeah, there was. I think the guys had their own conversation, and just to be cautious about, you know, sometimes this offense can explode. It's capable of doing that, but when it doesn't, you know, some guys think I got to do it all myself and be a hero and launch a ball, and next thing you know, you pile up like 6 or 7 at-bats that were kind of worthless. And tonight, as you mentioned, some hard hit outs, or I hate to say it, maybe again sounds like low standards, but even some of the strikeouts, you saw some things in there that were positive, or it was a 3-2 count, a couple foul balls, it was a borderline strike 3 or a well-located strike 3. I'm not criticizing anybody. So the value of at-bats, they're all equally important, and if you can stack up a bunch of them that are quality or team orientated, then it'll pay off.
Anything health related with why Hunter exited?
No, just a change there, and should be good to go this weekend.
In terms of how do you want a team to kind of respond to maybe a month that y'all just didn't go the way y'all wanted it to go several times? How do you want a team to respond to that?
Yeah, I mean that's if people want to get critical, that's fine. But if you take a step back, a realistic step back, and analyze a month, if you win one more game, which there was one, and there's other teams we've played where we kind of won some games. We're like, man, we very easily could have lost that one. But if you just win one more game, it's not a month of championship caliber, but it ain't a bad month either. So I think you got to put it into perspective a little bit. And then also, I think for this team, I think you want them to respond with making adjustments and unwavering confidence. If it was the 21 team, I'd want them to like bow up and Chad Dallas to be dancing in the locker room to keep everybody loose, and Fergie and Liam keeping everybody intense, and no one's going to disrespect and all that. This team's got a different flavor to them, and I think just like whatever flavor's in, you got right there, my man. But for me, they're a very confident group, but they're a little bit more even-keeled, a little more mature than some of the ones we've had in the past. So that's great, but you can't get complacent and just, it was a doubleheader, or that guy was on today. You need to make adjustments to failures that you have or losses you have in the past. So that would be my answer. Unwavering confidence and make adjustments when they're needed.
But I guess you talked about that fine margin being that fine, and is it, I guess some of the veterans on this team probably know that, but is it good for some other guys to get that lesson out now before going forward?
No doubt. I think in 22 we were victimized a little bit by not learning some of those lessons. In 23 it helped us, and last year there were some things that popped up on the radar screen. They just weren't as noticeable because it was the way the year ended, I guess is the way to say it. But there were some things that went on, probably a few more than you'd like this year. But if you're going to kind of mix up, your best batch or whatever you're making as a team, or just call it, come together as the best team possible, kind of need to know what good looks like, what bad looks like, and also what worst case scenario looks like, and then push forward.
Two-parter for this weekend. What do you envision AJ's role being? How has he responded health-wise, and what's led to Auburn's resurgence this year?
Well, I mean, again, perspective guy. I think people get a little. Sometimes that's why I'm not on there. It's a topic I'd like to talk about with social media, but maybe if you guys don't have questions about it, we'll leave it alone. But perspective-wise, we've only been here for a real short time. That guy's been there for a while, and he's been really good. And if you check his resume before he was there, he's always been really good, and he knows the league. So there's going to be years where they're a little. When you got Sonny in the middle of the lineup, it's going to be a better year than maybe the next year or the previous year. So they've always been good. They've always been well coached. They've always been competitive. But I think this year they've got a lot of older hitters. They found a guy, transfers from Baton Rouge, and they found a guy that's a perfect niche for them on Friday. Got a big arm behind him, and then a couple other things, going on in that roster. But I just think they got probably a good group of guys. They probably feel good about the way they're playing as far as the guys in the locker room. But the program they have down there is the same to me, and that's more of a compliment than it is. What was the other thing? AJ? He's good. Health-wise, I think if he'd go back in time, he'd be a little less feeling things out there, and a little more just go get it. And we're kind of to that point of year. Whatever we're going to go get, he's going to be a part of it, and he's going to need to start. The leash is going to need to get a little longer. That's more us than him. So he needs to go get us more outs than he got last week. And in what capacity, I think, in my head, I kind of have an idea, but we've had some really good recent combos as a staff, and I value all those guys' opinions. So we'll make a decision when we need to. No need to rush.
We talked with Christian Moore earlier today. He said you beat him. He wanted to surprise you guys, and you texted him to come down. Just what is it like having him back in town now, playing professional ball, but back here in Knoxville?
Yeah. I don't want that guy surprising me. We don't need him popping up around the corner without knowing. So it's good there has been correspondence. I appreciate the surprise approach. But I know he's going to come over here. We've talked about how do we get over there. Some of the kids have seen the ballpark. I've been in it now too. But it'd be cool to see. Where do you balance that out with handling business? It may not seem that way, but I'm kind of always freaking out. I think the guys are too. They want their ducks in a row. For Auburn is the next biggest thing. So we'll try and balance that out, but it'll be cool to have him back in town. And it'll be the first of many then now cycle through Knoxville. And I know 35, 40 minutes is not that long of a drive, but when you're busy and you've got games and recruiting, it's a big difference. And our kids, you know, some of them don't even have cars. It's going to be so much easier to stay in touch and watch these guys. So it'll be fun to see them for sure.
No.